Right. Fine. Right. So we'll discuss in this session, we'll discuss the database creation first. Why? Because if I want to create any tables, first of all, I should have a database. Okay. So I have to first create a database, a fresh database first, and then after that we can create the tables or objects inside the database, guys. Okay. So now before creating the database, not only any database, guys, not only a database, if you want to create any database or any objects, you can either create using command, and you can also either create using GUI also. You can create using GUI way, and you can also create using command way, databases or tables or any of the objects. Okay. So both you can use. Of course, for everything command is there. Okay, but no need to learn the command, guys. We can still make use of it. You can still, okay, create the objects, or you can manage the things with the help of SSMS GUI, using SSMS GUI, guys. So let's create the database first. Okay, how to create the database? Before creating the database, first let's discuss what is the database. What is the database, guys?
Collection of tables.
Database is a collection of,
It's a collection of objects.
very good, collection of objects.
Table rows.
Very good. Table is a collection of columns and rows. Okay. Database is a collection of objects. Okay. Or table, a database is also what I can say, a storage where the objects and all will be stored. Okay. Container kind of thing. Database is a container where we can store all the database related objects. Where we can store all the database related objects, in the sense tables, indexes, statistics, okay, table related security, database related security. So database is a container which will store database related objects, guys. Okay, it's also collection of objects. And there is also one more definition. Database is a collection of data files and log file. Database is a collection of data files and log file. So what is this data file? What is this log file? Why we need these two files? Okay, we'll continue in this discussion. So if you go to this server, if you want to create any new database, generally I'll show you both the ways, using GUI, using command also. Right click. See, if you just expand the databases, you can see two folders. One is system databases. If you expand system databases, there are 4 system databases: master, model, MSDB, tempdb. So once the database is created, we'll discuss the usage of each system database in the next class. Okay, so it will take a separate class to discuss about the system databases. What is the role of master? What is the role of model? Which will play a crucial role in starting the SQL servers, in maintaining the SQL server. How tempdb is crucial for the user space. So all these things will be discussed. There is a separate session on system databases that will be covered later. Okay, once this is created, and all will be discussed later. So now these are system databases. There are two types of databases, guys. There are two types of databases. Okay, one is two types of databases. One is your system databases. Second one is user databases.
User database.
System databases means the database that you will get with the SQL server is called system databases. When you install the SQL server, we will get the system databases. No need to create it. Okay, that the databases that you will get it with the system. Okay, that is called system databases, guys. These are the default databases. No need to create the system databases. Even we cannot create the system databases also. User databases means for the user requirements. Based on the application requirements, users will let us know. Users will request us to create databases as per their requirements. So we have to create the databases for their requirements and all. As a DBA, we will only create the databases, guys. As a DBA, we will only create the databases. They will give the requirements, specifications and all, database name and all, everything they will give. So based on that, we'll create the databases. So user databases, you will not get anything with the installation. You have to create. Users have to create, right? So that's why this is called user databases. So if you go to the server, you can see system databases. Database snapshots, leave this one. Later will be discussed. And then you don't see any other databases other than that in the databases section. You don't see any databases. Once you created this databases, when you started creating the database, once you started the databases or once you started creating them, so you can see the user databases in the below section. I'll show you. Okay, so how to create a database? Right click, new database. What you want to create, guys? I want to create a new database. So what is the database name? I'll give this as Amazon. Okay, Amazon. I'll for my Amazon application, I'll use this database. So this is for Amazon. So listen carefully. For all the objects, for most of the objects in the SQL Server, there is a concept called owner. So who is the owner? If you are creating the database, you are the owner. Correct? Yes, as you are creating the database, you are the owner. So owner will be always a user account, guys. If someone connected, right? If B connected and with her name, with her credentials, and if B is creating the database, the owner will be B, guys. And if Sharath connected with his own account and if he is creating a database, okay, the owner will be Sharath. But what is the challenge, guys? Here, see, owner will be always a user account. Owner means a person, right? Person means a user, right? So here the challenge is if B left the organization or if Sharath left the organization, the owner will be still remains on their name only. Are you getting the point, guys? If B or the user who created the database left the organization, as B created it, the owner of the database will be B. So until you change it to a default login, it will be B only. If the B account is not found in the organization, then the database will not work properly, guys. So owner will be always a permanent login. Who is the permanent login in the SQL Server?
Sysadmin.
SA.
SKS.
SA, no one
SA.
can delete this SA login. So B, I can create account for B, I can create account for Saurabh, I can create account for Sheikh, I can create account for Sridhar. If Sridhar is connecting and he is creating a database, the database owner will be Sridhar. But if he left the organization, he got another opportunity in another organization. So he left this organization. So account will be deleted. Sridhar account will be deleted from the back end. But the owner will not be changed. So it's not recommended practice to keep the owner as default. Are you getting the point, guys? Default means in this scenario, in current scenario, who will be the owner of this Amazon database? Can anyone tell me? Guess it. Administrator. Why? Because I connected as administrator. I'm using continuously for the whole course. I'll use administrator login only. Okay, so administrator. If I don't change it to SA, who will be the owner of this database, guys? Administrator. I have a quick question, guys. Can I change the database owner after creating the database? Is it possible? Guess it. Just guess it. After creating the database, can I change the database owner?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Right? So the answer is yes, we can change the database owner at any time. It's not a downtime activity. Okay? You can happily change the database owner at any time. Right click, go to the database properties. I'll show you. Okay? So I'll keep this as default. Later I'll show you how to change it to SA. Okay? Clear? Any questions, any doubts so far, guys, in this section? Database name and owner.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Now let's discuss, guys. Listen carefully. The tables will be stored logically and physically. You should know the difference between logical storage and physical storage. Okay, don't worry, simple topic only, just try to concentrate it. Easy, it's easy. So will be discussed, okay, how the tables will be stored logically, how the tables will be stored physically, that will be discussed, don't worry. And now if you go to this section, I told you, right, database is a collection of
Objects or data file and
objects.
log
Very
log
good,
file.
okay. Database is a collection of data files and log file. So if you see here, whenever you are creating a database, by default, two files will be created. Whenever we are creating a new database, by default, two files will be created. That is by default, guys. If you want, you can increase it, but you cannot increase. Minimum two files is mandatory. Okay, one is data file and second one is log file.
Log file.
Okay, by default, for every database, by default, these two files will be created when you are trying to create a database. You can see here, database file section, you can see Amazon and Amazon underscore log. How to identify data and log file, guys? If you see Amazon with the database name, see here, if I am changing, here also it will be changed. Amazon 1, see, adding. Amazon 1, 2 is adding. So like that, when you are adding the database name, automatically the file names also will be modified accordingly. So this is your data file, and log file will always contains underscore log. How to identify the database and log file, guys? Log file, data file and log file. Data file will have a database name, whereas log file will have a underscore log extension. Okay. Now you can see the type of the file. If you expand this column, you can see rows data in the sense data file. And then the next one is log file. You can see it. See guys, data files cannot exist alone. Okay, data files cannot exist alone. So let me show you one thing. Okay, I am just opening one diagram. One minute. Yeah. If you see this diagram, you're able to see, right? This is how the data will be organized physically, guys. Okay. This is how the data will be organized physically. Inside the SQL server, just color boundaries, you can see. Inside the SQL server, I mean to say instance, right? Instance. So inside the instance, you will have databases. Inside the instance, you will have databases, guys. Okay, SQL server, inside SQL server, you will have databases. If you go inside the database, there is an object called file groups. If you go inside the database, file groups will be there and log files will be there. Guys, listen carefully. Log file doesn't belongs to any file group. Very important point. Log file architecture is different. Data file architecture is different. Log file functionality is different. Data file functionality is different. Of course, both files will be used to store the data only. Very simple terms, log file will be stored the data temporarily, whereas your data file will store the data permanently, guys. Log file is kind of a RAM, your data file is kind of a storage. Very simple thing, very, very simple. Compare and learn like that. Log file will be stored the data temporarily, okay? And the data file will be stored, it will store the data permanently. So if you restart the SQL server, whatever things are there in the log file will be cleared. Depends upon the committed and uncommitted transaction. Whereas data files, it won't be cleared. So your storage is there, right? Your disk drive. So if you restart your laptop, the data that is there in the drive won't be cleared, right? Until and unless you are going to delete the items that are there in your hard disk will not be deleted, even though you restart the laptop. But whereas RAM, when you restart your laptop, whatever things are there in the RAM will be cleared. Correct, guys? The functionality of this log file and data file is also same like that. I'll explain, don't worry. Just I'll give you a brief, like what is the use of the log file, what is the use of the data file. I'll explain again how log file will work, how data file will work. Don't worry. But these data files, they don't exist alone, guys. Data files are part of any of the file groups. What is file group? Collection of data files is called a file group. Collection of data files, not log file. Again, that's why I just separated the log file. If you see here, I didn't included this in the group. File groups and log file. Collection of data files is called a file group. By default, so I said, right, when you create a database, we'll get how many files, guys?
2 files.
2 files. One
Two
is
files.
MDF
Log
and
file.
LDF.
very
Ma-
good.
Master.
Okay, one is data file. We'll discuss what is MDF and all. One is data file, second one is log file. As I said, data files can't exist alone. So for that, what we need? File group we need. So what is the default file group that will be created, guys? For the data file, for the first data file, and a file group is needed. So that file group will be created default. That file group name is called primary file group. Primary file group. So in the database, you will have file groups and then log files. If you go inside the file groups, you will have data files. Okay, you will have data files. We have two types of data files. One is MDF file. Second one is NDF file. Master data file. Next are new data file. MDF file, NDF file. So by default, when you are creating, the first file that will be created for every database is MDF, master data file. This is very important. The database related information, the metadata of the database, the database name, database ID, everything will be stored inside this MDF file. And along with MDF file, you will also get LDF file. The MDF, LDF, these are the extensions of the file. I said, right, a data file and log file. Data file extension is MDF. Log file extension is LDF. So by default, one MDF file will be created, one LDF file will be created by default. Without MDF file, I cannot create the database. Without LDF file also, I cannot create the database. So when you create a database, one data file means an extension is needed, right? Every file will have an extension. 1 minute, guys, just 1 minute. Hello? Hello? Right, okay. So MDF, every file, I said one data file and one log file will be created when you create a database. File means every file will have an extension, right? So the data file extension is .mdf, whereas the log file extension is .ldf, guys. Only one MDF will be there per database. I am saying only one MDF will be there per database. Don't get confused here. Multiple data files will be there, but only one MDF file will be there in a database. Okay. So the extension of the data files is .mdf and .ndf. Okay. or else there are two types of data files. First one is .mdf master data file. Second one is .ndf next or new data file. So whenever you create a database, you will get two files, one data file with the MDF extension, one log file with the LDF extension. Shanmukh, this one file is not sufficient to me. My database is big. Okay, chalo. You can add another data file called NDF file. So the subsequent data files will be NDF files only. Is it clear, guys? Only one MDF file will be created per database. But multiple data files can be created. But out of this data file, one MDF, remaining all other secondary data files are NDF files only. Is it clear, everyone, guys? Any questions here? Questions so far?
Sir,
Yes, Farooq, please.
sir, when the tables are created,
Hmm.
the tables are stored in the MDF file or NDF file?
I'll tell you how it will be stored. I'll tell you. Questions, guys?
Yeah, Shanmukh, I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
While creating a databases, by defaultly two files are created. That is log file, data file and log file, right?
Correct. Yes.
LDF and LDF.
Yes.
And again, here you're saying there are two types of data files.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is this come under file groups? This MDF and
Correct.
NDF?
All the no. Again, MDF, NDF comes under file groups, but LDF doesn't comes under any file group.
No, not LDF. I'm asking about .mdf and .ndf.
All the data
Primary and
files.
second. Master.
Yeah, all the data files comes under file groups only. Data files
Okay.
can't existed alone. So all the data
Okay.
files comes under file group. So by collecting all the data files, we can call it as a file group. So like that, you can create multiple file groups. By default, you will get primary file group, but multiple file groups also can be created. In each file group, you can have multiple data files. Okay, in each, guys, again, I just want to clear you one thing. When you create a database, two files gets created. One is data file, which is .mdf. Second one is log file, which is .ldf. I'll tell you the functionality of both. Don't worry. Why we need two files? We have two types of data files. One is MDF and second one is NDF. Only one MDF can be created per database. If that MDF file, if the database is growing, if the data is loading, and the MDF is not sufficient, I can add extra data files, that is called your secondary data file. MDF is your primary data file, NDF is your secondary data file.
Shanmukh, I have a doubt.
Yes, Swati, please.
Actually, when what is the limit of that?
I'll tell you how many files we can create. I'll tell you. See, remember one thing, I told you one magic number in the SQL server. So what is that magic number, guys? 32,767 is the
32,767.
magic number. So I can create 32,767 databases. I can create 32,767 users. I can create 32,767 files. I can create 32,767 logins. Okay. So these are all, like, if anyone is asking how many databases, how many users, how many logins, how many files, how many file groups. Okay. So for everything, the answer is 32,767, guys. So SQL Server will support 32,767 databases out of, okay, na? Okay. So out of this 32,767 file group databases, 5 system databases you will get it with the SQL Server installation. Okay, I'll tell you what are the 5 system databases. Okay. So remaining balance 32,767 minus 5, 32,762 user databases I can create. The whole SQL Server will support 32,767 databases. Out of that, 5 will be already created. So remaining 32,762 databases, okay, we can create, okay, based on the user requirements. But generally, don't worry, guys, we don't create that many databases. Max to max up to 100 database. That is 100 database means very big server. Generally 10 databases, 20 databases is an average size of the databases, guys. 10 or 20 is an average count of the database in each SQL server, guys. Clear now? The limit and all?
Yes, I do have a doubt. The
Yes, yes.
maximum size of the data file, log file.
I'll tell you what is the maximum size of the data file and log file. See, there is no maximum size of the data file based on your storage, but the log file supports up to 2 TB, 2 terabytes of size. So log file can grow up to 2 TB. The log file supports up to 2 TB only. Data file depends. That's why, see, data file, how it will work, it will be created in the C drive, right? Now the data file will be created in the C drive. So now, how much free space is there in my C drive? Around 20 GB something, 7 GB free space. All my files will be created here. So if my data file is like you started storing the data, and the file is increasing, it will use all the free space in the C drive, 7 GB. Once the drive is full, you will extend the drive to 100 GB or 200 GB. So what is the maximum size of the drive? What is the maximum size of the drive?
2 terabytes.
2 terabytes. Okay, it depends upon the partition. So I can extend this drive till 2 TB. If the 2 TB is also completely full, then what I'll do, I'll create one more data file in another drive. Correct? For example, user database size is 5 TB, guys. User database size is 5 TB. Can I accommodate the whole 5 TB in a single drive? No.
No.
So what I can do, first I'll create a MDF file. Okay, that MDF file will grow, not immediately, maybe after 6 months and all, it will grow up to 2 TB, it will grow. The drive is full. I cannot extend the drive more than 2 TB. My drive limit is finished. So what Windows team will do, will request the Windows team or storage team, they will add extra drive here with 100 GB initially or 250 GB initially. Then we'll create a secondary data file, NDF file, in the new drive so that the data will start inserting into the other data files. The other drive also will grow. So the second drive also completely finished, 2 TB. And again still database is growing. And again I'll add one more drive. And again I'll add one more drive. This process will continue. So there is no limit of data file size. It depends on your OS storage limit. Whereas the log file is having a limit of 2 TB. Log file cannot grow more than 2 TB. Okay, Kalyani or
Okay.
Kavi.
Okay.
Yeah. Clear, guys? Any questions so far?
Shanmugh,
Yes, please. What?
yeah, Shanmugh, one question.
Yeah,
Like you said that the MDF file will grow up to 2 TB. After that, that data will be stored to some other location.
correct. Some
So
other file.
the question was here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the other file will be .ndf or
Correct.
MDF only?
.ndf. That's what I said. Only one MDF will be created in a database. So once that MDF is completely full, then the files that you are creating, the data files that you are adding, see from here add button, I can add the data files or log file, any file I can add. So the subsequent files will be all NDF files only, new data files only. The subsequent files only for the first time when you create the database, you'll get the MDF file. So Shanmugh, why there is a difference? I'll tell you why there is a difference between MDF, why we need NDF. We can go ahead with MDF only, right? Why again this NDF? In the MDF file, database metadata will be stored like database ID, database size, how many pages of the database, all the metadata will be stored. So performance wise, it's not good to store user data in the MDF file. So we can create NDF file, we can start storing the user data in the separate file. But people generally, they don't follow this rule. Some organizations will follow this rule, some organizations will not follow this rule. So they will start dumping everything into the MDF file. If MDF file limit reached its threshold, Then the subsequent data files will be NDF files. Okay, Swati?
Okay, yeah, but the threshold, we have to set the threshold or it is 2 TB only?
Just now we discussed, Swati. Okay, if the drive size is 2 TB, yes, it will be 2 TB. We have different partitions, like we have NB, like we have GBR partition, MPT partition, based on the drive size. So some drives will be 2 TB, the limit will be 2 TB. Some drives will be like maximum drive size. But again, if the drive is completely full, you have to go to the next drive. Whatever drive is there, the existed drive, you have to go to next drive. Once you are going to the next drive, the MDF file cannot be extended to other drive, right? So what we will do, in the other drive will create a secondary data file which will be NDF files.
Okay, Shanmugh, thank you.
Yeah. Questions, guys?
Shanmugh, if the log file reaches threshold, no, then we can delete a log file.
I'll tell you. So first we'll understand the functionality of the data file and log file, then you will get to know, because we are still in the
Okay.
process of discussing, okay, these things. So slowly, okay, we'll go one by one. Okay, in that way you will get an idea.
Okay.
Kalyani, so it's not mandatory to wait to be like MDF file is full. Depends. Automatically will never be created any files. Automatically only two files will be created. One is MDF, second one is LDF. So if the file is full, you want to go with the new file, you have to create it manually. Okay, automatically the file won't be created.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys, as of now, is it clear? Any questions, any doubts? Thank you, Kavya. Right, guys. So now let's go with this. As I said, data files won't exist alone. So these data files, as database supports multiple data files, all the data files we can like club together using a logical grouping of a file group, primary file group. If primary file group you don't want, you can create another file group also. You can create multiple file groups. In that you can add the data files. But your MDF file will always be there in the primary file group only. The primary file group is the default file group. MDF file, LDF file is the default files that will get created when you create a database. Okay, now let's go little inside. What will be there in that data file, Shanmugh? What will be there inside the data files? If you go inside the data files, you can see extents. What is this, guys? Extents inside the data files, only data files. See here, only data files. Inside the data files, you can see extents. What is an extent, guys? Okay, inside the data files, we can see extent. Inside the extents, you can see pages. Page is a basic storage unit of the SQL server. Listen carefully. Page is a basic storage unit of the SQL server. So whenever we are creating a table, at the end of the day, where it will sit, guys? Where it will sit?
Pages.
On pages. It will be created on pages. Like how the book, in the book, how the pages are there, the same kind of structure. Okay, one topic can have multiple pages, right? In a topic can be limited to a single page. A topic can be limited to multiple pages also. Correct? In the same way, if you see here, in the extent, what is extent? Extent is a collection of 8 data pages. What is an extent, guys? Extent is a collection of 8 data pages. So now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you are creating an employee table, okay, that will sit on this 8 KB page. The page size is 8 KB. Interview question: what is the size of the page? What is the size of the extent? What is the size of the extent? Can you guess?
64.
Very good. 8 pages, right? 8 into 8. Each page size is 8. 8 into 8, 64 KB. The extent size is 64 KB. Right. When you are creating an employee table at the for the first time, like it will sits on this 8 KB page. If that page is completely full, you started inserting data in the employee table, the page is completely full, then SQL Server will add one more 8 KB page to that employee table. If this page is also full, then SQL Server will add one more page. If this is also full, then SQL Server will add one more page. If this is also full, SQL Server will add one more page. If this is also full, it will add one more page. It will add one more page. It will add one more page. Once the extent is completely full, then it will add
New extents.
very good. One more
New
extent,
data file.
which is 60. No, not new data file,
Extent.
new extent. So 64 KB, 64
Yeah, yeah.
KB, 64 KB, like that, it will keep adding. So once that is full, from where it will take that 64 KB from your data file only. Okay. So like that, once the page is completely full, it will go to next page, next page, next page. Once all the 8 pages is completely filled, then SQL Server will allocate one more extent to that particular table. Like that, one more extent, 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB. So extent is a basic allocation unit. Page is a basic storage unit. Is it clear, guys, now the difference between extent and page? Extent is a basic allocation unit, whereas page is a basic storage unit. If your employee table is not extending, you are not inserting, you just created the table, but you are not inserting any data. And now this time you created a student table. SQL Server will allocate one more page for the student. Now you have created a sales table. It will allocate one more page for the sales table. Guys, page is not shareable. Page is not shareable. What is the meaning of that?
So in whatever the table we are created, it will be allocated to particular table.
Very good. So Shanmukh, I created an employee table. The employee table size is 100. 8 KB means how much? 8192 bytes, right? 8 into 1024, 8192 bytes. So Shanmukh, I just created a small table, employee table, which is like 10 bytes. So in this 8192 bytes, if you subtract 10 bytes, you will have 8182 bytes. Can I use this free space to another table?
No,
Not at all possible.
No.
no.
That is fixed. Page is not shareable. If you are using or not using, that page is going to be wasted. To limit the storage, Microsoft designed like this, guys. So Shanmukh, why 8 KB? I can give 100 MB, right? For a page, single page, I can give 100 MB, right? I can give like 1 GB, right? For every page. My table size is big. Page size cannot be changed. That is the architectural design, how Microsoft is designed. Can I change the page size, Shanmukh? In the interviews also they will ask, can I change the page size? In the latest versions, is it possible? No, that is the design. Design
No.
will never change. The structural design will never change in any version, guys. Why 8 KB? Why not 8 MB? Why not 8 GB? Because to limit the storage waste, guys, like whatever like storage we are wasting. If it is 8 MB, if you create a small table, it will allocate 8 MB. If you are not using the table, if you are not inserting the table, you are going to waste 8 MB, right? If it is 8 GB, the size is 8 GB, you will create one page will be allocated to one table. So if the table is not growing, you are going to waste 8 GB storage. Storage is very, very precious in the organization. The most precious thing in the organization is storage. It will keep extending. You know, you can see the difference in your laptops. The 1 TB is not sufficient. You will keep adding the storage. The phone storage is not sufficient. Oh, we cannot add the storage, so we have to keep cleaning the things. We have to take a backup and we have to save it in some other place. So storage is very precious thing in the organization. Even KBs also is very important. So the reason why the page size is 8 KB, because for example, if employee table is created on 10 pages, when you call select star from employee, all the 10 pages will be loaded inside the RAM memory to read the data. If the page size is 8 MB or 8 GB, It will take a lot of time to load this into the memory. So the page is always should be a lightweight object. So that's why they created 8 KB page. Shanmukh, why only 8 KB? If you are saying the page size should be less, I'll create it with 2 KB. Why they are not creating pages with 2 KB or 4 KB? Too many pages also will create performance issues. If page size is 2 KB, instead of one page, I have to load 4 pages into the memory. Memory means RAM. So 4 pages you are loading. Too many pages loading into the memory will also create the performance issues. So like all together, by just managing the things, they fixed that page size as 8 KB. So that it's a kind of a lightweight object, so it can be loaded inside the memory easily while reading the data, while writing the data and all. Clear, guys? Questions, doubts so far?
Why page is not shareable?
Why page is
I
not
just
shareable?
listen.
Yeah, that's what. If page is shareable, if you are deleting an object, okay? For example,
Okay.
when you are loading, see, whatever we discussed just now, when you are loading a page, how many tables will be loaded? For example, in this single page, employee and student table is created on this single page. Imagine if page is shareable, I created employee table and I created student table also. While reading the data, this will be loaded inside the memory, right? So unnecessarily, the other table also will be loaded inside the memory, right? If page is shareable, are you getting the point?
Yes, yes.
So that's why the page is not shareable. Okay, so you can create only one table on a single page. If that page is not sufficient to that table, SQL Server will keep adding the extra pages.
Okay. For single table, we can share another page also.
Yeah. That's what. See, now when you started writing the SQL Server notes, you just started writing everything. So if for that topic, if one page is not sufficient, you will go to the next page, right?
Okay.
So a table can be created on multiple pages. A
Okay.
table can be created on multiple pages, whereas a single table, again, the page is not shareable for multiple objects.
Okay.
Employee can be stored on 100 pages or 1000 pages in case if you are keep on inserting the data, or 10,000 pages. Okay, whereas on a page you cannot create multiple tables. A table
Okay.
can be occupied multiple pages, whereas a page cannot be occupied with multiple objects. Clear, guys? Any questions, doubts?
Shanmugh,
Yes.
what happens if by the what is the maximum extent a table can use?
Maximum extents.
How many? Yeah.
See, there is no limit.
Is
That's
there
what.
a limit?
See, this is
Is there a
64
limit to the
KB.
extent?
See, this is 64 KB here. Very simple thing. This 64 KB is going to be occupied in your C drive or D drive where you are storing. So until and unless there is a free space, it will keep adding 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB. It depends upon your drive size. So there is no limit for a table. It can sit on n number of extents. If one extent is full, it will keep adding 64. It will be added like a chunks. 64 KB chunk. Okay, this chunk is full, completely full. Then it will add one more 64 KB. But from where this 64 KB is coming? Again from your data file. Where is this server? Okay, so now if you see, this data file is storing in the C drive. So in the C drive, how much free space we have? 7 GB free space we have. This 7 GB free space will be added as 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB, like a blocks. Once the 64 KB extent is completely full, then it will take one more 64 KB from your C drive. Why? Because it is storing in the C drive. If the file is storing in the D drive, from there it will take 64 KB. If that 64 KB is completely full, again it will request 64 KB from the drive. Like that, until the drive is going to be full, it will keep extending. If the drive is full, we'll extend the drive. If the limit is also completed, we'll add the new drive B. Clear now?
Yes, it's clear. So what happens when they say you need to do partitioning? What is going on? It doesn't have
Partition
to
is
do with
something
it?
different. No, that is different completely. That will be discussed
Okay.
later. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, B. Guys, any questions, doubts so far? You know, right, how it will work now, this is how the data will be stored physically. Okay, this is how the data will be stored physically. So now in the instance, you can see databases. Inside the database, you can see file groups and log files. Inside the file groups, you can see data files. There are two types of data files, MDF and NDF file. MDF will be created by default with the database. That is the first data file that will be created. Only one MDF will exist per database. If that MDF is not sufficient, you can add extra data files called NDF. If you go inside the data files, you can see extents, purple color. If you go inside the extents, you can see pages. Page is a basic storage unit of a database or SQL server. So SQL Server, when you are creating a new object, it can be a table, it can be an index. What is index and all, I'll tell you. Whenever you are creating a new object, by default, SQL Server will allocate one page. If that page is not sufficient and if the object is growing, SQL Server will keep on allocating another page, like that extent it will allocate. So page is a basic storage unit, whereas extent is a basic allocation unit. Are we good, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Extent is a basic allocation unit in the SQL Server. Extent size is 64 KB. There are, interview question, two types of extents. One is uniform extent. Second one is mixed extent. Guys, don't worry. Kind of internals, right? So you don't worry at all. Maybe they might ask what is a page, what is an extent, what is the size of the extent, what is the size of the page. Try to remember the key points. Okay, the takeaways are just key points. Page size is 8 KB, extent is nothing but collection of 8 data pages. Okay, extent and collection of 8 data pages. So the key points, these are the key points, guys. Okay, try to remember. If not, just go and watch it again. Internals, right? This is how basically it will be like if you go to Microsoft interviews and all, they will concentrate more on the basic level. Whether you know, whether you have an idea on what is a page, what is an extent, what is a file. So they will concentrate more on the basic level, very basic level. So try to concentrate it. Just listen it one more time. It is easy to understand, guys. Okay. So there are two types of extents. One is uniform extent, second one is mixed extent. So what is uniform extent? Uniform. What is the meaning of uniform?
Same type of data tables will
Very
be.
good. Very good. Super. Super. All the 8 pages belongs to, tell me, belongs to
only one same
single object. Very good.
single
Sapna.
table, single objects tables.
Very good. Very good. All the 8, see, I can allocate each page here. I can allocate. Page is not shareable, but extent is shareable, right? For this page, I can allocate employee. This can be student. This can be sales. This can be orders. So each page, one table I can create. But there are two types of extents I told you, right? If it is a uniform extent, all the 8 pages belongs to employee table only. All the 8 pages belongs to student table only. All the 8 pages belongs to orders table only. All the 8 pages belongs to salaries table only. So uniform. Okay, all the 8 pages belongs to a single object is called uniform extent. What is the other extent, guys? Mixed extent. What is the meaning of mixed extent? Tell me now.
It
All
is
the
a
8
mixed
pages
of all the
belongs to. Tell me now.
different tables, different objects.
Objects.
That's it. So one page can be employee, one page can be student, one page can be salaries, one page can be orders. So why like that, Shanmukh? For example, now you are creating a student table, very simple small table. So what it has to do? it has to allocate a page. From where it will allocate? It has to allocate a page means it has to first allocate an
From
extent, right?
extent.
It has to allocate an extent, right, first. But when it is allocating an extent, you will get 64 KB. For small table, you are going to waste 64 KB storage. To avoid wasting, to avoid the wastage, what SQL Server will do when you are creating a table for the first time, it will allocate a page from the which extent? Which extent is good one here in this scenario?
Mixed
Mixed
extent.
extent. Mixed extent. Why? Because mixed extent, all the 8 pages can belongs to multiple objects. You can store 8 objects in the mixed extent. So for the first time when you are creating an object, you will get a page from the mixed extent. The other 7 pages can be used to create the other 7 objects. First time itself, if it is giving uniform extent, all the 8 pages should belongs to student only. If student table is not growing, you are going to waste 64 KB storage. To avoid this wastage, whenever you are creating an object for the first time, it will allocate a page from the mixed extent. The table is growing. Now SQL Server is like understanding, okay, student table is growing. Okay, this time I don't allocate mixed extent. As it is growing, chalo, then subsequent allocations will be uniform extents. Clear guys now? Everyone? If the table is not growing, you don't allocate uniform. If table is growing, it will allocate uniform extent. The subsequent allocations will be uniform extents. Questions?
Sir, the decision whether the extent has to be a uniform or mixed, this is the internal process of SQL Server?
Internal process.
Or-
Very good question. This is the internal process. We are not going to decide. Shanmukh, who has to decide all these things? Nothing. But that is very intelligent system. By default, it will try to allocate the pages as per the table size and all. As per the table size that you are creating, as per the records. So initially to save the storage, if the table is small, initially it will allocate a page from the mixed extent. If the table is growing, the subsequent allocations for that table will be uniform extents. If the table is not growing, the wastage will be limited to a single page. So that will be designed internally. It will take the decision. The database engine will take control of it. Everything will be designed by the database engine. It is only going to control all these things. So nothing to worry. Just you have to understand these topics, guys. That's it. Clear? Questions?
Sir, it means that when we initially create a table, when we execute a simple command for creating a table, and we do not insert data in it, SQL Server itself assume or allocate it a uniform extent
Depends.
after
See,
putting data in the
that's what I said,
gradually.
Farooq. That's what I said. The first time it will allocate a page from the mixed extent to save the storage. The subsequent, if the table is growing, then the subsequent allocations will be uniform extents. For the first time, it will not allocate a uniform extent. Why? Because I just discussed it, right? If it is a uniform extent, all the 8 pages should belongs to student only. If student table is not growing, you are going to waste remaining 7 pages, right? So that's why for the first time, it will be a page from the mixed extent. The subsequent allocations will be uniform extents if the table is growing.
Okay, sir, fine.
Yeah. Guys, questions, doubts? Is there any confusion here? Please let me know. Swati, Sharat, Sheikh, Saurabh, Likita.
Awesome.
Yeah, my side clear.
No,
Okay,
Shanmukh.
fine. Right. So now let's go back to this. So now you know, right? File group. You can see here, primary file group. Okay. So I cannot change the file group. By default, the first data file, which is MDF file, should be created in the primary file group only. I cannot change the file group. You can see log file. I told you, right? Log file doesn't belongs to any file groups. So you can see Amazon_log not applicable. Initial size, when you create any data files, log files, when you create any database, the database should have a minimum size, right? So the initial size, it will be like 8 MB. Initial size of the database or data file will be 8 MB, but it's not mandatory. You can still change it. If you want to create a database with 100 MB with initial size. Initially, 100 MB will be allocated to the data file. Once that 100 MB is allocated, then there is an option called auto growth. So Shanmukh, how it will grow automatically using this auto growth? If auto growth is disabled, the file will not grow. So what will happen? If you see auto growth is none, means until it reaches 8 MB, it will accept the data. Once it reaches 8 MB, it will simply throw you an error, data file is full. Is it clear, guys? But we have to handle hundreds of databases, thousands of databases. Each database will have 2 files. Imagine 1000 databases are there. 1000 into 2, 2000 files. Who will always manage this auto growth and all? So you have to enable the auto growth. Once you enable the auto growth, automatically, if this 8 MB is full, as per the algorithm, the file will be extended automatically. See, in auto growth, we have 2 different options. How you want me to grow? You want me to grow in percent or you want me to go in megabytes? Let's go with in percent. If 8 MB is completely full, occupied, if you mentioned 50% of 8 MB, how much, guys? 50%.
4.
You want to grow this data file in percent. So you mentioned 50% of auto growth. So what is the initial size?
4 MB.
Initial
4.
size, initial size.
8
Initial
MB.
is 8.
8 MB. So it will calculate based on the initial size. So 50% of 8 MB is your 4 MB.
4.
So once your 8 MB is completely full, SQL Server will take 4 MB from the OS. Now what is the new file size? 8 plus 4?
12.
12
12
MB.
MB.
That will be the initial size. Now this 12 MB is also completely full. How much will be added next time?
6.
6 MB.
6.
Now the file
6%.
size will become 16 MB.
8.
12 plus 6,
18.
18 MB. If that 18 MB
18.
is also full, again it will add 50% of 18 MB.
9.
9, 18 plus
9
9,
MB.
27 MB. If that 27 MB is
27.
also completely full, again 50% of 27 MB, how much?
13.5.
13.5.
13.
13.5 will be added here.
13.5.
27 plus 13.5, how much? 40.5. If that 40.5 is also completely full, again 50% of 40.5, which will be 20 MB. So 40 plus 20, 60.
20.2.
Like that, it will keep on extending until there is a free space in the C drive. Clear, guys? That is the use of the initial size and that is the use of the auto growth. No, Shanmukh, I don't want like this. I will extend in terms of megabytes. 100 MB. If 8 MB is full, what is the new file size? Type your answers in the chat. If 8 MB is full, what will be the new file size? Type your answers in the chat. As per the settings on the screen, if my 8 MB data file is full, what will be the new file size now? As per the auto growth. Type your answers in the chat. Very good, guys. If 8 MB is full, it will add 100 MB. So the new file size will be 100 plus 8, 108 MB. If 108 MB is full, what will be the next file size? 208 MB. Every time it will keep adding 100, 100, 100. Earlier this was percentage. You have to calculate in terms of percentage. This time it will be 100, 100 or 1000. So you generally in the organization, Shanmukh, how they will go? Sometimes people will go with in percentage, 20% like that. Sometimes people will go with 1000 GB. See, if this value is very less, keep adding 100, 100 MB. What will happen? It will be added as a chunks. So keep like more partitions will be there. Performance wise, it's not good. So that's why generally people will add 1000 MB. So if my 8 MB is completely full, the next time the new file size will be 1008 MB. If that is also completely full, 1000 will be added, 2008 MB, 3008 MB, 4008 MB, like that they will keep adding. You want me to limit it to any particular size? You can select this limit. If you just give 10,000 MB, it will be limited to 10,000. So once your data file reaches 10,000 MB, which is 10 GB, then it will throw the error like data file is full. Guys, if data file or log file, if any of these files are full, it cannot welcome the incoming transactions. If the incoming transactions are not able to enter inside the database, your application, like it will be kind of a drainage. It has to flow. If it is not flowing, if something, any blockage is there in the drainage, how like it will stuck. In the same way, if data file or log file is completely full, it cannot welcome the incoming transactions. So application will be down. Very dangerous. If data file or log file, if any of these two files are full, if you don't take the measures before itself, your application will be down. That's why you should be very careful in managing the files. Clear, guys? Auto growth option is clear, everyone? So always data files will be unlimited only. Depends on your storage only, it has to grow. Okay? Clear? Questions, doubts on the initial size and auto growth?
No, Shanmugh.
Right. So now where it has to be created? Now I have only one drive, so I'll create it in the C drive. If you have D drive, you can just click on this browse button. You can create this data file. Is it mandatory to have both the files in a single drive? Guess it. Inky Pinky Ponky.
No. No.
No, sir.
Sir, it is risky.
Risky.
No.
How? Very good, Farooq. It is risky. Okay, so it's
Performance
not.
Sir,
issues.
Yeah. So it is not mandatory to have the files in the same drive. Data file can be in D drive, log file can be in L drive. Data file can be in F drive, log file can be in G drive. Performance wise, keep it in a separate drive, that will be good. Don't keep it in a single drive. Why? Because log file will be full very quickly. If log file is full, if all the files are stored in the same drive, data file also it don't have adequate space. So application will be down immediately. So that's why. And performance wise also, log file, lot of read write operations will performed on the log file continuously. So on the same drive, data file, log file, keeping the data in the same drive, performance wise it's not good. So the write operations, read operations has to be distributed across the multiple drives. So performance wise it will be good. It's not mandatory to have both the files in the same drive. It's recommended practice to store the files in different drives, but it don't stop you. You can still store it in the same drive, but it's not recommended. You have to store it in a separate drive. It's a recommended practice, guys. Clear? Are we good about all these options? If I want to add extra data file, I can add. After creating the database also, I can add. Whenever I want, I can add extra data files. Adding the data files is not a downtime activity. You can add at any time. Clear, guys? Are we good? I'll show you how to add the data file after creating the database. Okay. And options.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
These are the options that will be discussed slowly. Not all, like recovery models, compatibility, containment, all these things will be discussed. And file groups. If you want to create XC, primary is by default created. If you want to create extra file groups, you can create add file group, and the other files you can add it in the particular file group, specific file group and all. Okay. Now what I'll do for every activity, listen carefully, for every activity, I can generate a script by using this, okay, script button. So if I click OK, what will happen I told you earlier also, GUI, Microsoft doesn't understand GUI. The OS doesn't understand GUI. SQL Server doesn't understand GUI. But we don't know what is the query to write the data, to create the database or any objects. So the window that you can see on the screen will help you to generate a query like this. See how much big query script is there. Total how many lines? You can see here 83 lines of script is there to create a database. Can you remember 83 lines of script to create a database? This GUI will help you to convert your actions into the command. That command, if you want to see, you have to click on the script button. Okay, guys, questions, doubts so far? Now I'm creating the database by clicking OK. Yes, Becky, please.
What I want to ask is that does it apply to all other aspects in the database for you to be scripting all these So I have script like this to be generated
You can generate the scripts. You can generate the scripts.
for every steps.
See, for that, at least one activity, one action should be there. Whatever you are doing, you are trying to create an object, you are trying to restore a database, you are trying to back up the database. Anything you can generate the scripts. Most
Okay.
of the actions
Thank
you can generate the scripts.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there is one more option also, I guess, in the tools, you can also see commands. Okay, if you don't know the command, somewhere it will be the tools only, I guess. Code snippets, SQL updates. Wait 1 minute. Template Explorer, registered servers. So there it will give you a template for the each command. You can replace it. Okay, if you don't know the command, also you can make use of the in the SSMS itself. You can see templates for each command. For creating the database, what is the template you can see. For creating a stored procedure, what is the template you can see. Okay, see here assembly backup. For example, backup database. Double click on this. Okay, it will be opened here. This is the command. Backup database. You have to simply replace the path, database name, everything. So if you don't know the command also, you can get it like this. Okay, database. Creating the database you want to see, attach. What is the script to attach a database? What is the script to create a database? Double click on this script. Automatically it will be opened here. Okay, so if you don't know anything, you can use template browser. So there itself, for everything, you can see, for example, table. Okay, table, you want to create the table. You don't know what is the command to create a table. See, create table. Here it will be there. Create file table, create table. See, double click on it. You can see this is the command to create a table. You can replace the column names and all. Just you can use this for reference. Okay.
Okay. So where did you get that template browser from again?
Just view template explorer. Control Alt T.
Okay.
Control
Thank
Alt
you.
T. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys. See here.
Yes, and
Yeah. Please see there.
yeah, this is available in SSMS 20 or before
No.
versions
Before
also available.
versions also. Before versions also. Earlier versions also you have this template explorer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So guys, once I clicked on OK, yeah, please.
1 second. Before this MDF and NDF, you said na that MDF is full means application will stop, right?
Yes, true.
Yeah, I have a small doubt on that actually.
Yes.
The DML operations will not happen, but it will not stop the application. I think so. LDF full means it will stop the application. I think so.
No. That will
I'm
be
thinking like that.
No. I'll explain you later why it will be stopped. Okay. I'll discuss.
Okay.
So there is a separate session why it will be stopped and all. See, it's not like even though you want to run one select query, at least some free space should be there in the files. Okay. So even though the data file, the application, the log file, if any of the files are full, the application will be impacted. I'll tell you how it will be impacted in the future classes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So take a break. So now I just clicked on OK, right? The database is created, and inside the database you can see multiple objects. So we'll be discussing later, and come back after 15 minutes. We'll discuss, okay, how to create database using command, and then we'll also discuss log file usage, data file usage, guys. Okay, fine. I'll be back after 15 minutes, guys. Okay, fine. So now what we will do, we'll go to this, okay, and let's discuss the log file and data file functionality. Okay. So imagine this is the server, Windows machine. And imagine we have installed SQL Server in this. And one database is created in that. Okay, and gear symbol. So imagine this is the application, and this application is connected to this database. Connections wise, you don't worry guys, that will be application team will be there. They will take care of the connections and all. Simply they will attach with the IP address, machine name, host name and all. So you don't worry about the application side. So now imagine this is Amazon.com application. This is Amazon.com application. So users are connected to this application. Okay, imagine this guy is connected to the application. He's doing some shopping. Right. Imagine, okay, he is Shanmukh. Okay. Right. So now, as you know that database is a collection of two files. One is your data file and one is your log file. Okay, one is the data file, one is the log file. So listen carefully guys. Log file is the entry point of the database. Okay, what is this? This is the log file. Amazon database we just created, right? Amazon database. This is the Amazon database and this is the log file, and let's go. Right. So now listen carefully. Log file is the entry point of any database. Listen carefully. Log file is the entry point of any database. If Shanmukh is doing shopping for Republic Day sales, he just want to buy a laptop. Imagine he just want to buy a laptop. Customer ID 1, customer name Shanmukh. Customer is trying to buy Lenovo laptop, okay, with i7 configuration, 16 GB RAM and 512 SSD, okay, has to be delivered to Bangalore. Now, when Shanmukh is placing an order, not only placing, like even browsing also, or adding the cart, any transaction that Shanmukh is doing on the Amazon website, imagine he is trying to place an order. So now he is placing an order. This order he is placing through Amazon application. This order first it will goes to your database. Initially, it will goes to your log file. Okay, it will goes to your log file, and I told you right one point. So it's a log file is a temporary file. Log file is a temporary file. Temporarily it will store the data until the data is going to be moved to the data file. Okay, until the data is going to be moved to the data file, the data will be stored temporarily in the log file. This process, okay, writing data to the log file initially This process is called, can anyone tell me, guys? What is this process? Guess it. Writing the, what is that?
Log shipping.
No. Why we
Transaction.
Okay.
Committed.
Uncommitted, temporary.
Uncommitted. Very good.
Uncommitted.
So there is another word called
Redo entry.
no. So there is another word called log file hardening. Okay. What is that, guys? Log file hardening. What it is mean? What is the meaning of it? Or WAL, write ahead logging. 1 minute, guys. Just 1 minute. Right. Okay. So log file hardening or WAL, write ahead logging. Logging in the sense, remember one thing, log, you know the logbook, right? If you go to library, there will be a logbook. If you go to any apartment for the first time visit and all, or if you go to any company, there will be a logbook. They will ask your complete details, your name, address, from where you're coming, what is your phone number, what is your Aadhaar number also sometimes they will ask you. So log in the sense, for example, if you go to library logbook, so you have to write your name, your library like card ID, and your book, whatever books you have with you, and your membership ID, and your like any balance is there, kind of will be there, right? Membership, what is that? That readership kind of IDs. So everything you have to write down in the log book. Log in the sense writing everything, guys. The meaning of log. Please log it, log the entries means writing everything. So whenever from the application side, any transaction, this is called transaction, guys. The one that I am doing now is called a transaction. So what SQL Server will do, this Shanmukh is ordering this. Apart from this, what SQL Server will do, to which database it has to go, to which table it has to go. So it will keep adding all the details, okay? So it will have DB ID, object ID, everything, it will have all the details in this transaction. So automatically the transaction will goes to database. Database is now nothing but what? Collection of data files and log file. This transaction first it will goes to your log file. It will store there. Okay. Now Log file is a temporary file, guys. Log file, it cannot hold the data permanently. So this is called an uncommitted transaction. Uncommitted means what? Temporarily storing the transaction in the log file is called uncommitted. So once the transaction is committed, in this transaction, only data will goes to the data file. Okay, only data means still here it is a data. Okay, it will goes to your data file, guys. Only data will goes to your data file. So why we need this mechanism? For example, I'm doing a millions of transactions. I'm inserting a millions of transactions, guys. I just started with one transaction. I have to run 1 million transactions, which is 10 lakh transactions. Every database in the DBMS and the RDBMS system, it has to follow certain principles. If you follow those principles, those protocols, then only we can call it as an RDBMS. So what are the principles it has to follow? That is called acid properties. Okay, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Every RDBMS system has to follow the 4 principles, guys. These are all like protocols. Means if something happened to the database, how we are going to recover the data, and how much time you are going to recover data, how durable it is. If you are sending a transaction of 10,000 rupees, either the transaction should be successful completely or the transaction should be failed completely. It shouldn't be a partial successful, like 5,000 will goes to my account, 5,000 will be in your account, right? If, for example, if the when you are doing a phone pay transaction, you are like, and you are going to enter my name, you are going to enter my UPI ID, you are going to enter the amount. So the data is account number, right? Here the data is account number, recipient account number, and my name, my account number, my UPI ID, how much amount you are sending. This is the data. Whereas the transaction includes sender name, sender UPI ID, sender mobile number, sender mobile, some MAC ID will be there, right? Mobile device ID from where you are sending, and receiver name, receiver account number. Transaction contains lot of details. Are all the details is going to come into your account? No. At the end of the day, which one will come to your account? Money. Only the money. But why it will track all these details? Sender details, receiver details, sender account number, receiver account number, sender UPI ID, receiver UPI ID, sender, what I can say, MAC device ID, UPI device ID. Why it will track all these details? If something went wrong, if your transaction is failed in between, it has to reach one position. Either it has to go to your account or it has to come to my account. So if we have a complete details in the library logbook, if the book name, from when he took the book, since when it is there with him or with the user, if you have all the details, if that book is missing, I can easily track with the help of the logbook. Okay, this book is with this guy. He took, okay, 1 month back. He has to pay the fine. After 3 weeks, he has to renewal it. But he didn't renewal. He has to pay the fine. So I can easily track where is the book and all. I can easily track where is the transaction and all. For all this purpose, guys, we need complete details. Those complete details will be stored in the log file temporarily. Till when? Till it is going to be written to the data file. Data file means your hard disk. Once the data is completely written to the data file, now the same transaction will be truncated from the log file. That's why log file is called reusable file. Okay? Log file is called reusable file. Why? Because until it reaches its destination, it has to be there in the log file so that I can easily track it, so that in case if something went wrong in terms of power failure, system failure, OS failure, device failure, disk failure, transaction failure, application failure, if any failures happened, it has to hold the data temporarily until it reaches to the data file. Once it reaches to the data file, it was written to the disk permanently until you delete this transaction. This is record. This is transaction. Are you getting the point, guys? There is a difference. This is transaction. Transaction contains all the data, including LSN numbers, log sequence numbers. Every transaction will have one ID called LSN number. So transaction contains all the numbers, whereas your record contains, okay, only the data. Clear now, guys? So that's why log file maximum size is 2 TB, and it will be reusable. The 2 TB, it won't hold it. Whereas data file, it has to keep on holding the data. You cannot, until and unless if you don't want this record, you have to delete it. But whereas log file will store it temporarily. So temporarily, you cannot allocate 10 terabytes, 20 terabytes and all. Whereas the data file has to allocate permanently. Until you delete the record, the record hasn't been deleted. Okay, so it has to be stored permanently. So till it reaches its destination, the destination is data file. Till it reaches its destination, the transaction will be temporarily stored in the log file, guys. Why? For redo and undo purpose. In terms of system failure, suddenly someone restarted the system. Where is the safety to your transaction? You are inserting 1 million transactions at 9,99,000. Someone restarted the system. Then what will happen to all the 9,99,000 transactions? How it will be recovered? With the help of redo and undo, with the help of roll back, roll forward. So for this concept, we have a log file, guys. If log file is full, the incoming transactions that are coming from the application, it cannot be inserted into the log file. If there is no breathing space, at least some breathing space should be there. If log file is completely full, it cannot welcome the incoming transactions. If it cannot access any transaction, it has to come from the log file to data file only. If log file itself is full, means you are closing the doors. If you close the doors, how the application will work? So any of these files are full. Maybe not immediately, but after some time, your application will be down. Not immediately. Okay, log file, if the log file is full, completely the application will be down. But data file is full, maybe it will wait until the, why? Because if data file is full, listen carefully, what we discussed just now, the data has to come from log file to data file. Once that process is called committed. Committed means what, guys? Control S. See, I just typed a lot of things here. Maybe something I just typed. Until my system is active, this will be stored in this notepad, right? If I restarted my notepad, what will happen? I mean, if I restarted my server, what will happen? Laptop? It will be deleted. But if I want to save it permanently, I can simply Control S. What is Control S? Control S is like saving the data permanently. So there is a terminology called commit. Commit means writing the data to the data file. So once the data is written to the data file permanently, that will be stored. Even though you restart the server, nothing will be there. I mean to say, nothing will happen to the data. The data will be still stored in the files. Until and unless the files is not going to be corrupted, the data will be very safe and secure, guys. Clear? So now if the data file is full, okay, it cannot commit. If it cannot commit to data file, it cannot truncate the log file. If it cannot truncate the log file will be full very quickly. If the log file is completely full quickly, the application will be down. Now, Sridhar, is that okay now? How the application will be down?
Yeah, got it.
Any questions, guys, so far?
Sir, who will perform the commit? Is there any background process or any other service that timely execute the
very good
commit
question.
process?
Very good question. Automatically, there is a process called checkpoint. I'll tell you, these things will be discussed in the performance tuning. So by default, for every 1 minute, checkpoint, Control S. Control S means, in our terminology, Control S means permanently saving, right? On every database, for every 1 minute, Control S will run. Means checkpoint will run. That checkpoint will write the data, whatever data, committed data is there in your log file to data file. This will be performed for every 1 minute by default. Guys, just to understand, nothing we will do here. From the beginning of the session, we will just create the database. We can just create the database. How simple it is. Right click, new database, Flipkart. That's it. That's how other trainers will teach you guys how to create the database. That's it. That's how other trainers will teach you. If you don't understand what is data file, if you don't understand what is log file, what is the functionality, how the data will be stored, organized, logically, physically, if something went wrong, if the log keep on, we will in the organization from day one onwards regularly will get a log file full issues. Why? Because log file will store lot of data. Very common that the log file will be full very quickly. So you have to troubleshoot daily. You will get this issue in your organization. If you go to any organization daily, the common issue that you will get it log file full issue. If you don't understand what is log file, why it was full, what happened, what we have to do to recover the space. If you don't understand that logic, what is the use? This is what we will do. Whatever we discuss in today's 2.5 hour session, just will demo wise, we'll just create the databases. Nothing will do, but the pages, the extents, the files, log file, data file functionality, everything is only for your understanding. We don't do anything. No user intervention is needed in any of the topics we discussed till now. Clear? Just
But
try to
this
understand
is
the basics.
this is very important, right?
Correct.
Backend process, how
That's why
to be
we are
aware.
discussing.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case if people feel that I didn't understand anything, it is like kind of a it's a kind of a floating or overloading kind of thing. Nothing to worry. Just listen it again, just for your understanding. Don't ignore this. This is very critical. This is very important. Just try to understand the concepts, basics, words, and all. Clear now, guys? Are we good?
Sir, the readolog file size may depends on the query. Some query may generate a huge read information that may reside here, and that may further require multiple checkpoints to be executed
That we can
synchronously or one
see.
other.
Not
Is
like
it so, sir?
multiple checkpoints. Nothing like that. Multiple checkpoints not required. And see, whenever we want, you can even manually run the checkpoint query also. Just normal, whatever 1 minute checkpoint that is going to run automatically on the databases, that is more than enough. Okay, so
Okay,
we
sir.
don't need any
Okay.
specific again. Why? Because we have to handle thousands of databases. You know, how many databases you are going to take care of this mechanism? Simple logic. I'm handling 55,000 databases across 7,000 servers. 55 into 2, 1,10,000 files. Yeah, Kalyani, you don't need to delete it. Automatically, if it is committed, it will be truncated. No need to separately go and delete any transaction, Kalyani. Okay, committed means it will be truncated. Once the transaction is committed, the next step is it will be truncated from the log file. Why? Because the data is permanently stored to the data file, right?
Yes.
So nothing to worry about it. Clear, guys? Are we good? At least basics.
Yeah, Shanmugh,
Yeah,
can you
please.
tweak the commit time? If I'm typing something I don't want it to commit, can I tweak the 1 minute? Was it 1 second?
You can using
Commit time.
_configure interval options. You can change the commit time also. Recovery interval, that is
Can you
called
repeat it?
recovery interval.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, using SP configure, I'll tell you. In the SP configure, we have a lot of options, so I'll tell you. Good question, B.
Shanmugh, one more question. Like, what if the transaction fails
What if the
and
transaction?
it doesn't commit? Fails.
See, if the transaction failed means there are a lot of reasons. Okay, why it was failed and all. See, generally, if the data file is not available, or users, developers, they will write wantedly, they will write uncommitted data. Okay, so how to commit and all, guys, depends on the transaction. So when you are writing something, insert into table name. Okay, when you are writing, if you start the transaction with a begin, at the end of the transaction you have to give commit. Okay, any transaction, for example, on this database. I'm not going to write it now, execute it now. I'll just show you. Okay. So now if I want to create insert some tables, insert some records in the table. Okay. So we'll start with the begin. Insert into students values. Of course, it is not going to be executed as we don't have student table. Something like one Shanmukh. Okay. From Bangalore. Right. Imagine this is one transaction. Okay. So at the end of the transaction, you have to give commit. Either if you started with the begin, you have to give commit, then the transaction will be committed. If you don't give both, SQL Server will give both. That is also a committed transaction. But you started the transaction with the begin and you don't give commit, that is an uncommitted transaction. Okay, so wantedly sometimes users to test their logic and all, they don't commit it. They will write the uncommitted transactions like this. So uncommitted transaction will be stored in the log file. Until you commit, it will be keep on storing in the log file only until you commit. So if any transaction is failed, in the sense you have to look into it, why it was failed, due to log file full issue, due to data file full issue. 99% is because of these issues only the transaction will be full. I mean the transaction will be failed, or any, of course, if you are giving wrong object name, or the object is deleted, or the object is not accessible, or the particular database is not accessible. In these scenarios, the transaction will be failed. But you have to keep checking the logs why it was failed. This is very rare. Generally, it will be internally, it will manage all these things. But if the database is down, you will get the alert. If the data file is full, you will get the alert. So once you fix this issue, the transactions again will go to its target location. Okay, Swati?
So if transaction fails in the log file, the data will be truncated or it will be.
Guys, until and unless it is going to be committed on the data file, it won't be deleted from the log file. That is for sure. Even though if it is failed, it will wait in the log file until the issue is going to be fixed. As it is failed, it won't be truncated automatically from the log file. Truncation occurs if you are doing manually truncating, or if you are if the data is committed permanently to the data file. In these scenarios only truncation will occur. Even though if the log file is if the log transaction is failed, it won't be truncated automatically. Okay, guys, are we good?
Sir, I have a question, little question.
Yes, Farooq.
Basic.
Please.
Sir, I have some distortion here due to the connectivity. I missed the query that you were writing. What we are saying about, sir, the query which is written between the begin and the end, sir. Please kindly repeat it,
See,
sir.
the transaction, if it's now, normally you can write the transactions like this, okay, without begin commit. Every transaction
Yes,
should
sir.
starts with begin and end with commit. So if you don't give begin and commit, SQL Server, when you execute it, SQL Server will add it. It will understand, okay, users intentionally he didn't give commit. We don't need to give begin and commit in case if you want to commit the transaction. If you execute it directly, SQL Server will understand this is a committed transaction. So SQL Server will itself add begin and commit to this. It will add some parameters while executing and it will execute it. But
Okay, sir.
if you started giving commit begin, you have to give commit also. If you don't give commit, SQL Server will understand, okay, user don't want to commit this transaction. He didn't.
It is implicit.
Yes, implicit and explicit transactions. So it don't add commit here. Either if you don't add both, it will add it. If you add both, it will take care of it. If you add just begin, if you don't add commit, it don't commit it. Okay, Farooq?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys. If no questions, that's it for today. And there is an important update, and especially like tomorrow's session, people are requesting, students are requesting. Here we have a festival, like a big festival, Pongal. Sankranti festival is there, so students went to their hometowns, and they are requesting me to not to take the class tomorrow. to skip the class as tomorrow Sunday, Monday again Bogi and Tuesday Sankranti, right? So they are requesting us to skip the class for tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm just skipping the classes as it is a big festival for us. Please enjoy your holidays, guys. Next week Saturday will continue. Okay, morning 7 a.m. IST. So this is an important update, guys. As multiple for me, like they requested me in the WhatsApp for 5-6 students asked me. So that's why I'm just skipping the class for tomorrow. Anyhow, you have to enjoy the festival, right? So there is no class for tomorrow,
Fine, sir.
morning and evening.
Okay.
And we'll connect again on next Saturday morning, 7 a.m. IST, guys. Is that okay, everyone?
Thank you, Shanmugh. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I had a
sir.
party.
Yeah, okay.
I hope it's not disappointing, guys, for you.
No.
Okay.
No, I had a party. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Sir,
Great.
can you add me to the WhatsApp group, please?
Not yet. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Okay. So, guys, earlier I had a lot of okay bad situations with the WhatsApp groups. Okay, so that's why I don't encourage to create WhatsApp groups. And I'll create it, but it will take some time. At least I'll try to create a
Okay.
Telegram group so that for the security of other students and all. That's why. So that will be like
Okay.
that will be there. Okay, but it will take some time to create it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Any questions, guys?
So do we have class in the evening today? No.
No,
May
no.
I have one question?
Yes, yes, please.
Can you go to the diagram as well?
Diagram, okay. Yes, tell me.
Yes, actually, my question is that let's suppose one transaction has been committed to the data file. I mean, records only records has been saved to the data file. Okay,
Correct, correct.
but other object of the log file, like I mean, of the transaction, object of the transaction is saved in the log file, or it will be
No, it will be
deleted
truncated. See, that's what. See, a very simple thing. I'll just add you here. For example, I'm ordering something in the Flipkart or Amazon. I'll give my address.
Okay.
I have to include complete
Okay.
address. I have to give my city, then state, and then my apartment, my building name, street name, house name, flat number, pin code.
Okay.
These are the important parameters, right, to reach the items to me. If I don't have that particular address, if anything is missing the address, if anything is missing, can I get my parcel? No, right?
No.
So why to get my parcel directly to me, I need to mention all the details. So here also I told
Yes.
you, right, a transaction, PhonePe transaction, why it will include sender's mail ID, sender's UPI ID, receiver's UPI ID, sender's mobile number, receiver mobile number, sender's device ID, receiver's. Why? If the transaction fails, it has to roll back, it has to undo to the sender's account. If it has to undo the transaction to the sender's account, it should have a complete details. So once the transaction is successful, we don't need it. Once the data, the aim.
I have a question here. You told that we don't need it after transaction has been successful.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But for the security purpose, we can check the history as well.
Yes, we can check it. We can check it. See, all this metadata and all will be stored completely. Like from which application it is. It will be logged inside the table, system tables. But it won't be logged inside the log files.
Okay.
Okay.
So after the transaction successful, so log file will be empty.
Empty, correct. Log file will be
Yes,
empty.
okay,
It should be empty for the incoming transactions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Shanmugh.
Sridhar, yes, tell me.
Yeah. Here a small clarification
Yes,
is that within a minute commit will happen, right? Frequently, that is a SQL engine will do, right?
Correct.
By default.
Correct.
Yeah. Within that 1 minute, any committed transactions are there. After committing, suppose one particular 60 minutes, first second itself, it is committed transactions came on the log file. After 59 seconds are there to trigger another more commit what we call trigger. But between this anything happens, what about that transaction?
See, that's
Do you
what
got my point?
I got it. See, until like in this 60 seconds time, if something happened to the log file, what will happen, right? Until it reaches to the
Middle of
data
that,
file.
any committed transactions are there
I got
after
it.
middle of the middle
Got
of
it.
that
See,
minute
I got it.
happens.
Very simple. That 60 seconds, if something happened in the middle, what will happen? What is the safety? Where is the security to my transaction? That is what
Yeah,
is
redo
important.
undo concept is there, na? So
Correct. That's what.
yeah,
See, everything, as I said, it will comes from the application and it will be stored in the log file. So log file doesn't mean that it is going to be truncated automatically, right? So log file will store it until it is going to be written to the disk permanently. It will be stored in the log file. So even though if something happened, by using this redo undo roll back roll forward concept, it will still keep that data in the log file only. It don't do anything. It will only delete once it got a confirmation that it reached the data file successfully. Until then, nothing will happen. If something happened to the log file disk, you should be able to recover it with the help of the storage team. So if the log file is able to recovered, nothing will happen to your data, and until it reaches to the data file, it will be stored in the log file only. So in between, if something happened from first second to 60 seconds, still if you are able to access the log drive, the drive that is using to store the log files, if you are able to access until and unless the log drive is not corrupted, your transactions are safe. If log drive is corrupted, then the transactions depends upon the corruption. It can be a minimal corruption, it can be a maximum corruption, it can be a partial corruption. Depends upon the corruption, you can be able to recover the data from
yeah,
the disk level.
yeah. Here I want some more. In case that is indirectly called like some data loss. In case client is agreed for that loss also, in case any circumstances it is not able to collect the log file, not able to access the log file, client accepted, okay, minimal data loss I can allow, no issue like that, then there is no issue, right? We
See,
can
first of all,
database can be in can
see, that is the very rarest situation. If something happened from the disk side, storage team can able to recover it. Still, see, it's not like 100% guarantee for every transaction. Okay? If you can able to recover it using a multiple ways, your transaction is safe. If disk is corrupted, you cannot even recover the disk means you have to accept it.
yes.
Okay, so yes, sometimes that is very rarest of the rare situations you are asking if the disk is corrupted, if something happened. Still, okay, if you can able to recover the disk with the help of storage team, nothing will happen to your transactions until and unless if you're able to recover. If you can't able to recover, then of course you have to accept the data loss.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, it means the log file may play a role for the database recovery.
Of course, it should. It
May be
should.
used.
It should. It should play a database recovery role also. Log file. Those things and all very early discussion. That's why. Till now,
Okay, sir.
whatever we
Okay.
need, okay, that will be discussed. It has to
Okay,
go
sir. Okay,
smoothly. If it
okay,
creates a
fine, fine,
confusion in
fine.
another's brain, that will be a little problem for them. Whatever they are in the flow now, they can understand. That's okay. We'll go slowly. Don't worry. Okay.
I am also thinking like that
Fine.
only. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
One more thing, Shanmukh. Like, I don't know whether it's relevant, but what if the log in production live environment, the log file might be growing very fast, like the size. So how if the failure recovery and all those concepts will happen that time, like when the
See,
file
even though
size is
it is
big?
growing very rapidly, at the same time, parallelly, it has to write the data to the disk. So the truncation also will happen in like the same kind of what I can say priority we can say like. So even the see it is like growing very fast means either you are getting lot of data from the application side or some users are inserting manually lot of data they are inserting. As it will write for this transaction, it will add lot of parameters, 108 parameters it will add. For single transaction, it will add 108 parameters like the database id, object id, lsn number, timestamp, before lsn, current lsn, next lsn, okay, page id, all these details it will add. Because of that, it is very common that log file will be it will be full very quickly. But you have to keep an eye in such situations. Okay, there are some recovery options, like you can keep changing the recovery model to bulk logged to control the log file growth. There are different options are there. So those things will be discussed accordingly as per the topic, guys.
Thank you, Shanmugh.
Yeah. Chalo, so that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the session. Okay, so just go through it again. I know kind of confusion. Just go and check the okay things like whatever we need.
Just last one.
Yeah, Kavai.
Okay, data file now pages extends pages we are
Yes.
saying. In log file how the
In the log file, see in the log file there will be no pages, no extents and all. In the log file, VLFs will be there, virtual log files. Log file will be divided into VLFs, virtual log file. That VLFs contains log blocks. That log blocks contains log records. So log file, actually very good point, Kavi. Log file internally divided into VLF. Sometimes the interest they will ask what is VLF. VLF is nothing but virtual log files. Data file internally, how it was divided as extents, pages and all. Log file will be internally divided as VLFs, active VLF, inactive VLF. And if you go inside the VLFs, you will have log blocks. If you go inside the log blocks, you will have log records. That's how the log file will be managed. Kavi.
Sir, kindly, if you don't mind, can you write these
I'll write it.
sentences in the file?
I'll add it. Okay. I'll add right away. Otherwise, I'll forget again. Log file contains VLFs, virtual log files. VLFs contains log blocks and internally divided into log records. Okay, chalo, I just added, guys. So if you want to add anything, you can just, in case you are maintaining any rough notes, you can add it. Okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you for the for attending, and we'll connect again next Saturday, 7 a.m. IST. There is no session tomorrow, the whole morning and evening session. Okay. You can enjoy the holidays, guys. Enjoy the Pongal. Happy Sankranti. So happy Lori as well for North Indians, and enjoy the festival, guys. Thank you all. Bye. Good day. Good night.
Okay, thanks. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy.
Thank you.
Happy Pongal.
Holidays. Bye.
Yeah, bye.